Welcome to the Fabric of America, the podcast that celebrates small businesses and the remarkable stories that weave our communities together. We're your hosts, Melissa Otto
and Matt Banover.
Matt is a fashion designer passionate about storytelling through style.
And Melissa is a seamstress on a mission to make sewing cool again and inspire the next generation. We sit down with small business owners, artisans, and dreamers to uncover the stories behind their brand, what inspires them, challenges them, and keeps them creating.
Because we believe that behind every idea, every design, every stitch, there's a story worth sharing. So grab a drink from your favorite local shop and join us as we weave together conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of small business.
Gun to your head.
Oh boy.
Top couple songs. Top 3.
When you say couple songs, you mean like I'm gonna dance as a
Yeah,
couple?
like if no. Like, what are some songs that you love?
Like anything by Lady Gaga.
Okay.
Oh God, like that's a very challenging question because I like so much random music too. I'm like, I'm gonna say something and then it's all gonna go downhill.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga, Linkin Park, Rage Against the Machine.
Those are good answers.
Thank you.
Love it. I would say
I just named artists
Shut
instead of
Up.
songs. But...
Shut Up and Dance With Me.
Oh, that song is so good.
Yeah.
See, and I went to their concert
See?
too, and it was such a vibe.
That song, when that song comes on.
Yeah, you can't sit still.
Yeah, it truly is. There's this awesome video that I got about it was at one of our friends' weddings, and Eric and I got the cell phone. I was like holding the cell phone, and Eric like comes through the circle, and we're in the middle of the circle, and I've got this phone
doing Shut Up and Dance.
Crushing it.
I hope you put that on this video.
I gotta find it because it is awesome. Yeah, Eric and I are raging. We're like, I've got the video of like showing like the crowd dancing. I'm showing the couple dancing. People are, oh my God. They had the best live band ever.
Oh, I love live band.
Yeah,
we had a wedding for our life. We had a wedding for our live band just so we could have our live band. We had a wedding.
Yeah.
We had a wedding at our live.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, not great.
Live band at our wedding, and it was one of the best choices that we ever made.
Did you know them beforehand?
Nope. We found them through, it was one of my cousins had gotten married. I didn't even attend the wedding, and my mom was like, oh, you're looking for a musician, like you should look up these guys. And Jeff and I were still in the New York area at the time, so we went through a couple different, you could actually go see some of these bands sometimes. Like we went and saw one gal perform in the city, just doing some covers and stuff, and decided we didn't love the vibes, so we didn't choose her, like whatever. And then when we found this other band, I don't even know if they're still around, but they were called Bach and Blue, and they were so good, and they were our wedding band, and they were sensational.
Yeah?
Sensational.
Do they still like play?
I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't gone to look them up. I haven't heard them through the grapevine, but also I felt like even at the time they weren't like, this is our main jam. Like they weren't putting it all out there. So maybe they're on the low. But
there's just like, I don't know, like if I'll, it's hard to say, if I ever get married, like what I would do, DJ or band.
Okay.
Because there's such good to either one.
Yeah.
Because I do love like EDM and dance music.
That's where I would
so there's certain things that you can't get. But at the same time, when a band crushes.
Live music just in general, like, me, I'm wearing a band shirt more than half the time with my like fancy pants and stuff when I come in my daily life, like when I'm doing anything.
Pants.
Fancy pants and a band shirt just to like keep it even. But but it's because I love live music.
Live music is
love live music. Period. Like full stop.
That is a perfect segue to our wonderful guest, Ariana Strings.
Who does not play the cello.
Does not play the cello. And I've told so many people.
The violin. Yeah. You've been spreading misinformation.
I've told so many.
She actually plays many instruments, but her primary.
None of which are the cello.
Ariana, she's a skilled violinist.
She is. She is such almost like a Renaissance woman.
Totally.
I think that's a good term. Just because I kept trying to be like, were you a rebel rouser as a kid who listened to Rage Against the Machine? Then you found
no, Melissa, that's just you.
Yeah, and exactly. I'm like, were you like this little scamp here? But she was like, no, I was just always into Broadway, always into music.
She was a show.
Always,
musical
that was just
theater kid.
She's just on this path.
Theater kid.
You
And
know?
I hope that the listener who like knows of like theater kid culture will just kind of have a giggle because it really is such a culture.
Thing. Yeah,
it's a thing. Like if you're a theater kid, you are a theater kid.
Right.
You are all in.
Yeah, it's just like being a jock or being, whatever.
Kind of throw those like stereotypical labels.
Yeah,
things,
being a theater kid, that's a thing.
It was very cool. So it was neat to kind of go through her path getting into music, but then also like one of the things that I walked away from the conversation thinking or realizing, and I think this is true for a lot of artists, is that she was talking a lot about like living the music in a way where like it's hard for her even to watch live music because she wants to be in it. She wants to have like be up on the stage playing. Like she's always trying to kind of put herself into those scenarios. And I thought that was a really interesting way of looking at things where it goes so much farther beyond an appreciation into just a full like encompassing of her personality.
There was a lot of discussions about feeling and observing.
Yes.
Being a participant, but also witnessing how people are moving throughout a space.
Yes.
You and I don't need to talk about this anymore.
No.
Let's just let Ariana talk about it. So enjoy our conversation with Ariana Strings. Thank you for being here. That's so exciting.
Good to have you.
You are a musician.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we would classify you.
Mm-hmm.
What is your instrument of choice?
I'm a violinist.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have told 5 people you play the cello.
Yeah. He
No,
totally
you haven't.
Oh, yeah. He
You
totally
have
fucked that up.
Yes.
100. Yeah.
I can hold.
100%.
That's true. I can play all of like 3 notes on the cello. I can
Okay.
hold it semi-convincingly. So
Okay.
we'll make it work. It'll be fine. I'll cover for you.
I have literally been
You
telling
really
everybody.
think every string instrument is the same?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
close enough.
Ariana Strings. She plays the cello. Like that's what she does.
Don't you know?
Duh. It's like Matt makes suits. Yes. All right. So what does your business look like? Because when I was talking about you being on here, I was like, it makes a lot of sense because Melissa and I are fighting the fight about keeping the trades alive, like sewing, doing all of this handwork. I feel like you're in kind of a similar boat where it's like getting back to taking your time. Not everything can be, just send your, 50 favorite songs to a DJ and they're going to create a vibe. Like you create something. There's a human element to what you do. So can you dive into that a little bit more?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think there's a music industry standard, particularly for weddings and for classical music. There's a concept of show up and play, but nobody considers all the things that happen before the performer arrives. So when I show up to a symphony stage, typically they've sent me the music 2 weeks in advance and hopefully 2 weeks in advance. And I'm supposed to have looked at it. Cute.
With what time?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No. But like we're supposed to look at it in advance. We're supposed to know what it is because we're putting it together in usually like 3 rehearsals, max 5, depending on like the symphony budget, right? And basically, we show up, we've done our little part, and we play. And then at that rehearsal set, like at the rehearsals, we figure out, this sounds like this balancing doesn't work over here. And you have all these pieces of the puzzle that sort of come closer and closer together to create one unit. And then at the concert, we have the puzzle that's come together. Right. What people don't realize is that the orchestra has a manager and administration and bookkeeping, and someone had to get all of the arrangements, which is like really hard, and get them all out to the players. So I'm sort of a miniature symphony for each wedding, but each wedding has something different that it wants. And basically I work with my couples and I try to figure out their vision. And most of the time they have this like one idea. They're like, I think I want this really one special song, but the rest I trust to you.
Yeah.
And they say that upon booking, but then like 1 month before, they're like, actually, we got so excited and now we have all these other ideas.
That's me to a T. I am so like, I trust you. You're amazing. I love this vision. But
let me also micromanage a little bit more.
I am that to a T, and I always tell like my friends, my frienders, whoever I'm doing work with, I'm always like, I'm here because I want to support you. I love what you do.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
But if I could,
But if I could interject a little.
But like, if I could make you better, I would.
Wow, Matt.
I know. I'm recognizing that about myself, where I'm like hyping somebody up, and then I end it with a but, and I'm like, I gotta fix
But it's not that, because like you're the client at that point too.
Yes.
And so they came in and they weren't really thinking about it. They knew that they could trust me and say like, oh, I know that you're going to do a great job. You have a huge library and we know we're excited about this one thing. And I say, yes, you can have that one thing. And then, 8 to 10 months go by between the last time that we spoke.
Yeah.
And
They're
then all
sussing out more details.
Yes.
They're actually thinking about, instead of just the entry song, you have an exit song. You have what's setting the mood when all the guests are walking in.
And it's partly my own fault because I send them inspo too. Because I'm because they don't realize what's out there.
You don't know what you don't know.
I don't want them to feel at all like confined to anything. I want people to feel like, to be able to show how unique they are.
Yeah.
And it's not that like you have to choose a completely different song to walk down the aisle to. Like I have so many people who walk down the aisle to Can't Help Falling in Love or Pachelbel's Canon in D. It's going to feel different for that moment, but you can personalize so much about it. You can have violin and piano. You can have string quartet. You can have string quartet and singer. You can have all these like crazy things. Yeah. And it's different. And we dress up in colors. And
are you saying that you're trying to tell their unique love story?
Oh my God, stop.
When we were we went to this event in New York, and it was me, Ariana, and Katie. We were talking about...
Who's Katie?
Katie,
tell the listener.
Yep, Katie Donovan. Catherine Donovan Photography is her Instagram handle. We were talking about how every variation of somebody in the wedding industry, talks about telling the unique love story.
And it's going to be unforgettable.
Yeah, and it's
because they use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You just know, every single person. Yeah. Unique, unforgettable.
I'm giggling because we just had Chelsea's episode air, which was very like centered around some workarounds using ChatGPT. So that's why I'm also like pros, cons, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes, and this is the argument about ChatGPT, or not the argument, but the discussion around it, which is use it as a helper, not as the whole thing.
Right.
Like when you just use it and leave it, that's when you get telling your unique love story. You get tariffs on penguins.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But when you actually enhance it and make it very better and you bounce ideas off it, that's when you get to Chelsea from Chelsea Brook Events, who's like, can have a discussion with it.
Right.
And it's like, that's the insane tool. Because I know, like, when I use ChatGPT, it's always like, okay, but make this more elegant, make this fun, pull from statistics, like always that. But yeah, that generic kind of, telling your unique love story.
Yeah, I get in fights with my ChatGPT now.
Yeah.
I'm because it yeses me too much. It's like, you're the best.
I know. My
ChatGPT is like, you're doing so
that
great,
sounds like
sweetie.
a great idea.
It's so nice to me, but I'm like, hold on a second. Is that accurate? Yeah. And now I've realized it's actually sort of like a siphon for creativity in like it's not in a good way. Yeah. Like if I try to use it, the only time I'm using it at this point is if I'm like, I need to professionally say something diplomatically that I don't know how to phrase this and I don't want to offend someone. And then I usually end up going, let's soften that. And then I start, going in another direction.
You put your own voice on it.
You have to, because otherwise we all sound the same.
Exactly. You get the unique love story line.
Yeah. And
hashtag unique love story.
And in the wedding industry, I'm just so fed up with the lack of creativity.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we all kind of copy things that we see, and because like we inspire one another, right? But then no one thinks I'm going to put my spin on it. They just do a carbon copy.
Yeah. And that is a very interesting observation, because it is true in the sense that we're all trying to do our unique thing. Then we all end up at the same place. But it is like, how do we maintain that autonomy? So I'm working with a couple right now who I'm so excited, because their suit will probably be one of the most unique suits that I have created to date.
Oh, wow.
They emailed me and were like, we're getting married in Sedona.
Is this the one I get to work on too? Okay, amazing.
Yes, you get to be a part of it. Yeah. So they emailed me and said, we're getting married in Sedona. I emailed them back ChatGPT pictures. It was my first time. I was like,
about this.
Sedona, green. They wanted embroidery on it. So, usually when I work with somebody, it is they pick a fabric, we do the measurements, we design it, my factory makes it, I deliver it to the client. That's the whole journey. For this couple, it's now that the suit's here, now comes the next part where we have to add the embroidery, add the embellishment, add all this other stuff. So I'm like, oh, this is very cool because it will be very unique. Like my factory can't do what we're going to do now. And it takes the handwork, the human aspect, the thinking outside the box to make this, oh, this is your unique story. And the lining is all pictures of them in their past. And,
oh, wow.
you know, we made it look like a scrapbook. It's very, very cool. Very unique. Now,
that is unique.
I was just going to say, that one is actually...
Exactly. And that's their unique love story.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and it's like beautiful. It's like, this is how it is done. When you do slow down and you take every project as, well, it's almost like you take it as the first time you're doing something. Rather than, I've done this a bunch of times before. I know what works. I know what couples want. How do you approach this as like, imagine if this is the first time I'm ever doing, well, what can you do? You know? Because you get in those spots of, well, I know how to get to the answer. Like pretty much every client that comes to me,
finish line's the same.
Yeah. And I know that I could
the little details
show
of
them the
road.
fabric that they want, probably on the second or third try. But I want to, like, let's
a little more.
Yeah, like, I'm going to show you 100 fabrics. Wow. I know you're probably going to pick this one, but like, let's go through it because who knows? Yeah. Maybe you'll think of something crazy. You know, so that'll be fun. I just booked Shelly from Married by Shelly. She's coming in for a suit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that'll be awesome. So she was talking to me about like, you know, different weights of fabric, but she still needs black. So it's like, oh, that'll be fun. Kind of look at those variations. Now, have you always been into music?
Yeah.
Now,
I didn't
listening or playing?
Both.
Okay.
But it's become more that like I can't listen, I have to play.
So that's why I asked that. Yeah. So when you say listen, are you talking about all types of music or is it more specifically strings and...
Oh, no, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I say everything.
Is it actually everything?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like I say everything, but like I don't really mean rap because like I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really know. I know Sir Mix-a-Lot like by heart, the Baby Got Back. But
I hear he's going to be big soon.
But that's as much as I've got, you know. That's as much as I got.
That timely reference.
Yeah. Well, I always think that I like know like what's hip and cool because like especially because I'll be like scrolling on TikTok and there'll be like this little tidbit of something, and I'll go to find it and I'm like, I think I really like this song, and then I hear more than the tidbit. I go, no, I don't actually.
Yeah, that's true.
I tried.
They really curated that 3 seconds.
Did you
they
wear
really
this
properly.
Did you wear this shirt?
100% I did.
You know who this is?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm wearing, for the listener who's not watching, I'm wearing a Rage Against the Machine concert t-shirt because I attended what turned out to be their last concert probably ever.
Oh, wow.
At Madison Square Garden. Quick backstory, Zach De La Rocha, the lead singer, early on in the tour, busted his ankle, I think it was, some part of his leg.
Yeah.
Continued on, just like sitting on a box in the front of the stage.
Yeah.
And we happened to get tickets to the second night showing at MSG. They were supposed to go abroad after that and tour in Europe. And they kind of like knocked around postponing the dates. And they've just, they were like, that's it, we're done. He had to have surgery and all this stuff. But I was just talking to someone literally yesterday about this, that this man, and I know you'll relate to this as a performer, you guys know the music, like rageful, impactful, very passionate. This dude is sitting down. He's got crutches near, like he cannot get up. He can't jump. He can't move around. He can't go side to side on the stage. None of that stuff. He is on a box and he is literally, no pun intended, raging, sitting on this thing where I'm like, you know, okay, it's raging. Like, how much is this going to be worth it? He's like injured, right? I was so emotionally invested in his performance because of all of the heart and soul and passion and emotion and everything that he put into this show was just like so top notch. Top notch. I've never been in I mean, I've been to many concerts that I'm always like, this concert's awesome, this concert. But that like I viscerally from the high up seats felt something in my soul watching him
So many of the
perform.
best concerts have stuff like that, like Taylor Swift's Rain concert. You know,
Yes, in Massachusetts.
that
last
one where
year.
it's where they overcome something, you know,
Yeah.
and like that's
And you see her mouth to her dancer at the end, like, this was the best. This was
Yeah,
the best
yeah.
time or something. You know, her piano's busted.
Yeah.
They're soaking wet. Like,
Yeah,
you
but-
probably have to change some of the choreography so you don't like endanger anyone.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're giving a different show
Totally.
than maybe what you intended, but still drawing people in, which is
Yeah.
exactly what you're doing, is bringing this audience, for lack of, but you know, it's all your guests and all these special people there for your wedding, and creating this like immersive environment, basically, like fully setting the tone.
That's the hardest thing for me to describe to people about what we do.
Oh, just tell them my Rage Against the Machine story from
Right.
now on.
Honestly, yes. I'll just
What we
link
do
them
is
to this
similar to
exact
Rage
moment.
Against the Machine.
Yeah, very much like a Rage
yeah.
concert. Like,
But there's such a difference between musicians and like artists who are engaged in what they're doing and also like aware of their environment and performing versus people who like just consider themselves to be background music.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing in weddings. Like, you know, it used to be, I want a string quartet who's going to play background classical music, which is fine. No problems with that. But then we just weren't background. Like we were enjoying ourselves and we were doing things to a high level and we sort of, you know, caught attention.
Yeah.
But we're not, you know, we're not like a fireworks display where we're taking things away from like the couple. But, you know, it's just not the boring like, oh yeah, they're over there. We
you're
saw
noticeably engaged
Yeah.
in what it is that
You're
you're doing.
a part of it.
Yes.
Like the same thing that the flowers aren't there for background, they're to be noticed.
Mhm.
You know, it's like that. I think that's a big part because we've all been to weddings where you get both. You do get the background singers
Right.
and then you do get the act.
Mhm.
And it does change.
Yeah.
The whole vibe very much. How big is your band, crew? What do you call it?
Okay. So I wear a whole bunch of hats,
Yeah.
but basically I can't play all the instruments.
You don't play cello.
No.
Figure that. We figured that
I
out.
can't play all the instruments at once.
Yeah.
I would love to. I would try. But no.
Like Ed Sheeran, like looping pedals
Yeah, I was
on all
thinking
kinds
Blues
of stuff.
Traveler.
Yeah.
He's got
There
the
are some
harmonica
people.
thing.
Yeah, there are people who know how to do that.
Yeah.
I just maybe next year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Add it
always
to the
doing
list of
something.
things to do.
Yeah.
I honestly, I just never stop because I get bored.
Yeah.
You know, like I started off as a solo violinist and that was as a music student because like the typical thing is I'm going to hire a music student. It's really inexpensive and they'll pay my wedding. And of course I showed up and like knew nothing and made a mess. But that's, you know, that was years ago. So we can forget that.
The learning days.
Yes, it was learning days.
Everybody started somewhere.
Mhm. But then over time, like my best friend Sue, she's a photographer and a fantastic violinist, and she actually like dragged me and was like, "Let's do a violin duo for this wedding." And I remember she was the first person to be like, "Why don't we try and do because the couple had asked for Lady Gaga's "Bad Romance" as their recessional song.
Who are they? They're
And
my favorite.
They were so
couple now.
cool, and I didn't know how to do that, and she showed me how.
So cool.
And so then that was the duo. And then next thing you know, someone was like, could you do a trio? Could you do a quartet? Could you do a string orchestra? And it just kept like just going and going.
So where did you pull from, though, to find other people who have this talent and interest in doing what it is you were doing?
That's really hard, actually, because there are a lot of musicians who don't want to play weddings.
Sure.
There's sort of a stigma around it because of what weddings used to be.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set a new standard, but you know, weddings used to be a quick gig where people show up, they play poorly, they figure that the guests don't notice, and to be fair, maybe they won't notice. But if you're super background and like playing really, really softly, there's nothing to notice,
Right.
You know,
Right.
So people would typically show up, not do their best job, and walk away with their paycheck and go, "Yeah, I played a wedding. It was so lame," you know.
Yeah.
And then they kind of view you as a wedding musician as, "Oh, well, you must be not doing high
Less
quality
than.
things,"
Yep.
right?
That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yes, yes. So, what was your question? Wait, it was.
How do you
That's
find
okay.
the talent that wants to show up?
So a lot of people just gravitated toward me who were interested in doing weddings and stuff. We just found each other through symphonies, found each other through school because I went to the Hart School and like this little conservatory. But like over time, you like when your cellist can't make it and you meet someone else and they're able to step in, you figure out whether those people are really the right fit for your company. And that's how I have a team of core artists.
Nice. And is everyone like subcontracted? Are they on a payroll type of thing?
No. It's all subcontractors. So they can pick and choose which events they want to do. It's all, we end up doing about 70 a year, but most of,
70.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're at 70 this year. So I don't know, might be a little more It might be less. No, just kidding. Could you imagine? But no, the players, they can pick whatever events they want to do, and it always kind of spices things up. I mean, I typically am seeing all the same faces all the time because I have the same like 4 cellists that I work with. But like in the northern part of the state, I have 2 different cellists, and I have a violist in, Rhode Island. And so depending on where I travel to, I'm going to see my friend that day and make some music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So
yeah, it's fun.
That is really neat. Are you like, I don't even know what the word is. As a placeholder, are you the boss? Like, do you give direction?
Mm-hmm.
What's that like?
That was the hardest thing for me, actually,
Yeah.
was deciding and realizing that I am the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you
are the company.
I am the
Yeah.
company.
You started this.
Yeah, I am the company. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am the boss, and it's interesting because you have to navigate as a musician, and you have to navigate all the personalities. Because like typically, if you had like a typical like a professional string quartet that you see that tours, all of those personalities, like those people usually like found it together, and then they try to have rehearsals together, and they may or may not argue. They may or may, like one person may push their weight more than the other, but like ultimately it's supposed to be collaborative.
Yeah.
I mean, I let it be collaborative with us. I'm bringing the music. I set the tempo. I have an idea of what it's supposed to sound like. And, I have some stylistic things, but then I ask my players to bring their unique twist to it. And if they can improv, they can, add little slides, add little glisses, and we have more fun that way. So I'm very open to collaboration, and that ends up being what drives things.
How long have you been doing this?
Good question. Since 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what have you seen over a decade, basically? 15.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it's 2023, right?
Yeah,
Right?
Exactly. You're like, we're almost at a decade.
Yeah. No, I said just over a
Yeah.
decade. No, we're at 15. In the last
That's
15 years, like,
wild.
how have you seen, not so much the wedding industry, but like, how have you seen the musicianship, the musicians, who's coming out of, whether it's schooling or just natural talent? Like, how has that changed in 15 years? Like, what do you notice?
So there's always going to be a little bit of a bias, because I went into it as a student, and I was a student, and then I worked for other companies to start. And independently as a student, I was playing as a soloist, so I wouldn't see what other musicians were doing. But when I worked for other companies, I did see. And that was actually what kind of spurred me to start my own, because it was so disorganized and it was so like lacking caring. And I didn't want to be a part of those things anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be at the weddings where I show up and they don't have the music that the couple requested because someone forgot to bring the binder,
Oh my God.
Yeah, like that's not that happened more than once,
Wow.
Oh yeah. Not on my watch, but but those
Just
are the
in your experience, and you're like, I can do better.
Yes. And like I do think that the wedding industry has changed with Bridgerton, but I was doing pop songs before Bridgerton existed, just to let you know.
Like
I've been doing it since before it was cool.
Yeah. We were talking about that on the car ride.
Mhm.
Well, Lady Gaga's Bad Romance was long before
Yes.
Bridgerton.
Exactly.
That
Yes.
I would like to see.
Yeah, that was like
Mhm.
2009, yeah.
Probably.
Probably, yeah.
8.
Yeah, because it was like my junior year of college.
Mhm.
I think that was
The
my
big
my
bop.
number one
Mhm.
song on iTunes.
Yeah.
That was Bad Romance. Yep.
Yep. But I watched people be like classical music with a little bit of pop to like overarching, like, wait, I didn't realize you could do all of this with pop. And so everything has changed with how people want to even have live music in their ceremony and their cocktail hour, because before they didn't have those opportunities to personalize.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's a song that you didn't think you could pull off, but you did?
Ooh.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah, like Baby, I'm back.
Actually, well, I can tell you about the thong song. Actually,
What? At the wedding?
Yes,
Oh my
yes.
Like grandma.
amazing.
Like,
This is
such
all-
a cocktail.
This is always polarizing, but it's
Yeah.
kind of funny because one of the things that you remember, you were asking, like, what happens before the wedding?
Great violin part in the song, too.
It does. And oddly enough, it's not
Violin
written in the
solo.
arrangement. So
no way.
No, so because I can order
so
sheet music
cool.
arrangements from different arrangers, and there's sometimes things listed online. Most of it's hot garbage, but like occasionally you find some really great pieces and you amend them. And for me, I was looking through and reading it, and I was like, this doesn't sound like the song at all. That doesn't have any of the inflections.
Yeah.
Nothing. So because I know the thong song.
Like, I can't believe I'm saying this.
I know, it's so silly. Like I knew that song, and so because I know it, I'm not reading off the page anymore.
Yeah,
because what's written on the page doesn't make any sense, and that's one of the things that kind of limits musicians in the music, like in the wedding music world, is they sort of either grab a piano score and they read off of the piano score and hope to pick up some things, which is really, really limiting because ultimately you're probably going to make something a little bit more stale because it was designed for different instrumentation. And also you're sort of improvising and you don't know what's going to come out. They're not rehearsing enough. The other end of the spectrum is I'm going to buy something or I'm going to grab this free score that I found online and see how that sounds. And that could have been done by computers that don't realize how actual musicians will play them and what it takes to hold the ensemble together and what people are really going to read like. So then that can fall apart.
That shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Oftentimes couples will be sending me links to computerized things that are like computerized string quartet things on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they don't even realize it's a computer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is a big thing recently. Not recently, but I remember when ChatGPT was kind of coming out like 2 years ago or something. The big thing was like mashups.
Yeah.
You could put like a mashup with like Biggie and John Lennon or something. Music was a big one. So did we land on the thong song was the song?
I think so. Oh, yeah. So, we talk about being neurospicy. It's true. But the thong song was the one that like really came together because what I had in front of me did not work.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had to switch gears and make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is really
That's
cool.
a fun song.
What's like the typical amount of songs people request from you?
They would keep going if they could. They would be like, I want 100 different songs, but I'm like, there's only an hour, or
Right. So what? That's like 20 songs total.
Yeah, like an hour. An hour's cocktail hour could be 20 songs.
Yeah.
It could be 30 songs. I don't limit anything because a lot of the time we go overtime. Yeah. Because like weddings don't realize that they need to go overtime, and we're the ones who see
pad
that.
it in.
Yeah. So we have a lot of extra padding.
Cover it. Yeah.
Yeah. But like maybe like 30 to 50 songs in a wedding day. Because also, if someone asks for a lot of things, what we'll do is we'll amend it and do, one verse of it and move on to something else. So you're getting that interest. We're not going to stay on I Will Always Love You for all of the verses and the key change. 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
It's a great song. It's just
right.
You gotta do mashups.
Keeps on going. Yeah. Keep going. There you go.
Just blend them all together.
We're gonna do Linkin Park and Jay-Z.
Song. Now, where did this you have to be a certain type of person to really be able to gauge the vibe of a room. Not everybody has that. Where did that start to percolate in your past?
Honestly, I started off weddings like doing, as a music student and not realizing anyone was paying attention to me.
Yeah.
And then as in the background string quartet world. And then people started coming up and going, oh my God, I love that. That's my favorite. And when people came up to me, like when I had a violin guitar duet at one of the vineyards, people started dancing when we played At Last, and they were like, this was my wedding song. And once that started like happening and I realized I could see the moments when people interact with our music, they're not going to stand there and yes at you like the whole time to show you they're engaged. But there are little things energetically they can do. Like we were playing for a corporate event and everyone was seated at tables. It was my string quartet with drums. And I noticed that if I peeked over, I saw people like bouncing a little bit. Like this, and just like My Girl, The Temptations, they're like, nice. And you can see
they're
moments.
They're listening.
They're listening. And when people don't give me anything, that's when I really start. Like, wait a minute,
like, what's going on?
What's happening?
How often do you have to like will you be in a song and you're like, And you'd be like, guys,
bail,
like,
bail.
yeah.
We don't typically bail out. Yeah, like
Yeah.
once you
You'll
commit
finish it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
then
'cause
you'd be like, okay, let's try something different.
Because if you
and
bail out, it's going to sound like we made a mistake or got lost. And that actually will cause more disruption. Like I could see people being like, why are they stopping? You know, they just started.
Yeah.
So it's better to finish it out. But generally we have the guidelines from the couple. Like I establish them. Like I'm like, okay, like I had a couple days ago. And they were asking, they said they wanted like classic jazz and romantic vibes, romantic pop, but like mostly like oldies. Okay. And I said, okay, so you clicked classic rock is important to you. If I throw in some Pink Pony Club, how will you feel about that? Yeah. And they stopped and really thought about it. And they were like, I mean, it's cool, but I don't think that it's our vibe. Cool. And you have to ask those questions to find out. And so I start with their vibe and then I watch throughout the cocktail hour. And most of the time there are things that are on their list already. But if I notice that their grandma is like really, really enjoying Fly Me to the Moon, we might throw on a little like a Come Fly With Me right after. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Keep it going.
Yeah, little things to keep it engaging. You know, we pay attention. Wonderful. But also we've been doing this for so many years and for so long that I have the capacity to be able to watch people as I'm playing. Yep. You know?
You're also like a very well-traveled human being. Not just that. Music is so international. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where wherever you go, there's going to be music playing. You pick up on the vibe. Mm-hmm. Are you more attuned to that when you're at a bistro in Italy or, somewhere somewhere in France or something? Are you thinking like how the music is affecting the vibe? Are you kind of going about that in a different way?
In Europe, they invest in live music so much more often. And it's so, you're more likely to see people busking. I mean, but we don't see that in Connecticut. I think in New York, you'll see that like people busking on the subway and stuff. But like when I travel back and forth, like, because my husband's English, so I go back and forth to London a lot. And we hop around from there each time we find some excuse to go party somewhere. But I do notice, like if you go to a club or you go to a restaurant and they have a jazz band there, how it impacts things. Yeah. And I also, because I've been in this industry for so long, I kind of interact in a way that I wish other people would interact with me. And I notice that sort of impacts their vibe, you know? And I also notice what's working for them and what doesn't. And I try to bring that home.
Smart.
You know?
Smart.
Because I can't turn off my analytical brain at all.
Just extrapolating a little bit of knowledge from each social experience.
Yeah,
right?
like I was in Malta, and we were actually just on like a little vacation in Malta, and they had this violin and accordion duet in the hotel lobby.
Interesting.
And no one was paying attention to them. This guy was killing it. He was a fantastic jazz violinist who was doing all these really elaborate, cool like improvisations. Yeah. And I could tell what he was doing, and no one paid attention. And I'm like, how could they be missing this? Aww. So I went up and I struck up a conversation with them. And I said, I do what you guys do. And he holds out his violin to me. He's like, you wanna? And I said, heck yeah. So I started vibing. But I don't know how to... I can do jazz. I don't do jazz like a jazz fiddler does. Like they understand when they're hopping through like the sevenths and the tenths, and they know the whole musical theory component
stuff that we're all. Like,
I don't do math
right over there.
Nope. I don't. No math for me. But like I usually like kind of play it straight through, and I add little licks and things. And people started turning their heads in the lobby because it was recognizable. Yeah. Because sometimes it's so complicated that even though, like, as a musician, I
lose people.
You're
the musician. You're the one who's in the same sector. Mm-hmm. You get how complicated it is.
Yes.
What he's doing and the talent that he must have.
Yes.
Some people are just basic.
Yeah.
We just want to hear that.
Yeah. I was a little basic, but it was funny to see like to draw that comparison and realize what was possible. And the more complicated I tried to make my playing, the more I watched people sort of disconnect, and they were like, "Oh, you're back to background music again."
Oh,
it was kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is fascinating.
And for the record, I meant the listener was basic, not you basic.
Oh no, I was doing like
I was basic, and I started playing. And I'm like, no.
I was doing like a basic version of things, and I played just the melody, and then I was like, well, let me add a little, and the more
to it,
the more, because I really wanted to be like the jazz violinist. I thought he was incredible. I can't do what he does.
What's your personal relationship with music? Like outside the wedding industry, outside that, like, like your background, like growing up as a kid, like what's that all
like
kind of look
before
like?
school.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm doing music constantly, even outside of the wedding world.
And not even you playing it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you listening to? What are
What
you
am I
growing
listening
up
to?
on?
I was always super musical, and so it's funny because the way I started getting into music was because I watched the Muppets do "The Devil Went Down to Georgia." Yes,
Wow.
and I wanted to be the devil because he had that cool ripping solo, you know.
Yeah.
And so I've always been musical. I love musical theater. I have a Broadway streak. I do musical theater. I act and I sing, and so I'm always doing something. So what am I listening to? Is usually Broadway. Because I'm usually like on my way here,
We
like
just watched Wicked again last
Yeah.
night. So I'm like in my chair, like fidgeting around, like yes, keep talking.
yes, like I'm usually
Broadway,
Try
hyping
not to
myself up.
break out in the
Oh
song.
God, I love
Yeah.
it so much.
It's so good.
Newsies and everything, like just oh God.
Yeah,
Go on.
Newsies is a really hard violin part, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
See?
Really, really hard. Yeah,
Stop.
it's a Disney musical. But it did go to.
We talked about this. Christian Bale was in the movie version. I told you about
I
that.
think you told me. I don't think I ever
know.
looked it up.
Well, obviously you didn't even retain the fact that I told you.
No,
You still said,
you
"What's
tell me a lot.
You sound like my husband.
Yeah, well, we're
My poor
cousins here,
husband.
so.
Oh God. He's like, you talk so much. I'm like, you didn't listen. He's like, but you say so many
There's
things.
so much. Some's gonna get through the cracks.
Yeah, that's what he
I'm
says.
sorry.
That's what he says. That's
Yeah.
not the first
All
time
right.
I've
So
heard
you
that.
so you are into like very like musical. What about with your friends? What do you listen to?
Broadway. My friends are all theater kids.
Yes.
Really?
I attract theater kids, and if you're not a theater kid, I turn you.
Yeah.
Yes, like my husband didn't know anything about musical theater. I think he saw Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat when he was 10, and then all of our first dates were all in New York where we met up, and we saw Phantom, we saw Shrek, we saw Chicago, we saw like everything. And the thing is, when you really love something and you're an artist, you sort of just like emanate this energy that like you love it, and then other people start to love it too.
Yeah.
It's infectious.
It's infectious
because people want to know why you love it. They're like, there's got to be something there, right?
Okay.
Like
It's like us with Shop Local.
it's cool.
You know, we like convert people.
Yes.
You know, it's that same thing where like
Yeah.
you find the right people, you know, and the same people.
You attract
and
the
you attract
the crowd.
And I do have like a part of me that is my classical music streak, you know, but when you've been
I
studying
love
violin
classical
for so
music.
long and
Do
you
you?
go to
Yeah.
conservatory, like you can't listen to classical in the background anymore.
Yeah.
It's not something you put on to study because like you can't type and not like listen.
Yeah.
It's just your brain is thinking all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that became like something that I have to sit and actively listen to and enjoy.
Yeah.
But the problem is that when I play in symphony is where it feels really good. There's all the crazy like vibrations of like the
Yeah.
tuba from the
Yeah.
back and the violins over here. And it's just, it's immersive.
Yeah.
And when you listen to a recording, it's not.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
not
And so
the same.
I end up, remember earlier you were asking like, do you like to watch or do you like have to create? I have to create.
Yeah.
I like if I'm watching somebody on stage, I want to be a part of it. I invite like I will go
Do you
on
have, like,
vacation.
The FOMO and you're like,
Yeah, I
no.
go on vacation and I go in the hotel lobby and I gig with the accordion
Right,
player
right.
because
Yeah.
I can't stop myself.
Yeah.
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 That there's like so much I want to say about music. If you go into my house at any point in time, there's classical music playing. There's instrumental music playing. I couldn't tell you the name of the song. I couldn't tell you I just love the sound of it. And I like the background of it. And Eric and I,
You
Eric
just want to feel like you're on a
hold
higher
So
level.
I'm leading. So Eric and I, our AV guy, we were talking about this. Like he and I have a very similar relationship to music where we love it, we're into it, but it's like, I don't know lyrics. My favorite song, I couldn't sing you the song.
And I could memorize a song the
Exactly.
second time I hear
You know,
it.
there's like people where the music like flows through every cell in their body. I love the vibe. I'm here for it. It is a defining characteristic of my personality, but it's not like that in me. Like I watch people where any song that comes on, they start singing the lyrics. You know, and I'm like, the song that I've probably heard the most in my entire life, it's probably one of my favorite songs, American Pie. I might be able to get the lyrics 70% right or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You could get the chorus.
Yeah.
You can get the bye-bye.
Yeah,
Mr.
It's just like,
Pie
I
part.
don't
Yeah.
really care what they're saying.
You're so funny.
I just listen.
See, and then I listen to it and I'm like, did you hear that Easter egg? Did
Yeah.
you hear that one thing? And that little like,
See, exactly.
especially with rap music too, when they do like double entendres and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, I'm like, oh, I know a secret.
That's
like,
why I
get so
never
into it.
understood rock and roll, because it's just like these made up stories and I'm not listening, so I don't care.
You're funny.
Yeah, like
Love
and
it.
now I'm talking about it with like more people. I'm like finding out that difference. But I will say, like, my journey with music has been very interesting. So I was for most of my life, I was homeschooled. And so I was only really around friends during the summer. And when we're hanging out, we're listening to kind of like communal music, like stuff we would all like listen to. And most of my friends are white. And I remember when I went to college, I was always the guy making CDs and like making people playlists.
Mixtapes.
And yeah, exactly. One of my friends was this. It was the first time I knew like I don't even know what to call her, like one of those like indie type of people. And I gave her a playlist, and one of the songs was "Living on a Prayer" by Bon Jovi, and she was like, "Bon Jovi, this sucks." And I was like,
What do you
mean? Like, don't white people love Bon Jovi?
So,
and I swear to God, it was like
white people love Bon Jovi. White people do love Bon Jovi.
They do.
Okay?
It was one of the most glass-shattering moments in my entire
You're like,
life.
doesn't every white person love
I literally was stunned. I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "No." And then she got me all into like, this group no one had ever heard of, Mumford and Sons, and like all this like stuff, like the banjo. And I was like, this is crazy, because I had only ever listened to music in like social settings. Obviously I wasn't listening to what people were listening to behind closed doors, the weird little indie bands and stuff like that. She was showing me like CDs of people that she bought from like, people who play in coffee houses. And I was like, people listen to this?
I actually had an interesting one where, because I worked in retail a lot, and you probably now you've confessed that you weren't really paying attention, but I worked at like DKNY in New York. I was in Soho. I worked in anthropology, and they had actual like, because I was talking to one of my higher ups one day, and I'm like, oh man, like the playlists are like fire lately, and she's like, we have like an R&D like section of people who like find indie music and indie bands that like haven't broke yet.
Wow.
And that's who's on it. And they would be like, like a couple of years later, you would hear the songs in like car commercials or busting out on the radio or on like the XMU stations. So there were a lot of random artists that I heard first in these stores in this kind of niche-y environment. And then they would kind of break later, which was really cool.
I will say my biggest not intro, but like gateway into classical music, instrumental music is movie scores. I remember my parents took me to the live concert of The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, to this day, one of my core memories. It was so incredible. And now, like, I have an instrumental playlist, and it's probably 50%, maybe 70% movie scores, and just like that, and just what music does for a film, and like enhancing the vibe. And I remember in college, that's what I would listen to when I wrote papers, and that's why my papers were all like exclamation points, and commas
everywhere.
Commas
You and
everywhere in the title, like a comma. But I was just like, and then George Washington, blah, blah. And like,
and your professor's like, why are you yelling?
Literally, I ended on an exclamation point once, and he was like, this is unnecessary.
Oh.
I'll never forget that note. But it was because I was listening to this band called Two Steps from Hell. They make trailer music for epic movies.
That's cool. Oh, okay.
Oh my God, the
really
music
cool.
is absolutely incredible. It's always, for 15 years, it's been in my top 5 listened to on Spotify, Wrapped, or whatever. But like, I love what it does for the vibe, enhancing the vibe, and like, in a not morbid note, what I think of what you're doing is kind of like the crew in the Titanic.
So what's
just like
funny? Are you sinking?
Yeah, but like how they go from keep it light and cheery to actually playing the mood. How you can control that from going background to foreground. That's what keeps coming up in my mind when you're talking. It's like, you could just be the background, light and cheery. Or you could be like let's get people into this, bring people in, tell the love story.
Yeah.
There's that
unique love story.
Yes, I'm like, avoid it. I'm like, go around it.
Full circle.
I'm like, like you have the ability to really navigate those waters which I think is so interesting.
But like as a performer, every day is different and all the energies are different. And like I've played on stage and like been holding back tears because I've been like, wow, this is so beautiful. And other days I'm like, my arms are on fire. I need to leave. My neck is going to spasm. I'm done. You know, like because like you're on symphony stage. But like the days where we're playing movie scores, we've played those movie scores so many times. Like I played them last Wednesday for a children's concert. We were doing E.T., we did Star Wars, we did the Harry Potter medley. So yes, and like that's what I did on a Wednesday morning, and that to me is like old hat, and I'm like, oh yeah, that measure is always going to be hard for me. But you get into your own like little groove where you're like, yeah, that measure is always really hard. I got to remember to do that. This is going to be out of tune if I don't do it that way. And then the kids are screaming. It's so exciting. And like the roar, I had to put in earplugs because the kids were so excited on last Wednesday at New Britain Symphony. They were so happy that I actually put in my little earplugs.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
So like, what do you want either the general public or like the future generations of musicians to know? And part of why I'm asking this is just like, this is what we do, right? Like we want to talk about like these gifts and these things and these trades and moving them forward. But I also, on a personal note, like I have a niece. She is in high school. She is an incredibly talented musician, and she plays the flute. She is so stellar. And I'm like, God, I hope she continues it. Like, and I think that she is just so immersed in it that she could go very far. And I think what a lot of people don't realize until you start like picking into a profession, like even my profession, like there's actually a lot of job availability, gig availability, like things that you can do with these arts and talents. I think a lot of people, especially of generations past, are like, arts, like, congratulations on being poor for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like,
that's fair.
How do you make a living, right? The starving artist idea didn't come from nowhere, but that certainly has been changing. So what would you say to someone?
I think that you should create your own opportunities and not limit yourself. During the pandemic, of course, we were all at home and I was dreadfully bored. And my husband said I should get a hobby. And I saw everyone singing online, and I'd taken some singing lessons like as a kid, but like I kind of just sounded like an opera singer and really hated that sound because I wanted the musical theater vibe. I wanted to belt, you know? And I tried recording myself and doing a video with my ukulele, and ukulele too. But I tried doing that and I hated how I sounded. So I decided to go and take some voice lessons as a thing like just for me. I was like, I'm going to do it just for me, and maybe I'll do some community theater or something. And it exploded. And now I do theater regularly, and I've done a little professional theater, and I've done auditions in New York City and callbacks in New York City. And I'm singing for a gala for the symphony orchestra this coming Friday. And like I created my own opportunities, but it came from like not having an expectation of where I was going to put it. It was going to be my hobby. It was going to be just for me. Now it's a
just
profession.
The doors open.
Yeah, the doors open when you say yes. That's for sure. But if you are creating and you're being honest with yourself and just not comparing yourself to others and not limiting yourself to an idea, because you know all of us go to music school and we play violin and we go, okay, I'm going to get a job as a symphony musician. Well, that's cool, but what else is there? Because there's only 16 seats in the orchestra for violinists, and they might not need them all the time. So you're lucky if you get one of those contracts, but you're not. You're going to have to supplement. So then I started teaching because I knew I was going to have to live and like perform and teach. And I also started gigging because I knew that it wasn't going to be enough. And next thing I knew, I had way too much on my plate, and I could actually say no. So I'd say just create your own opportunities and say yes to everything and do it with no expectations.
I love that.
Yeah. Wait. The door's open when you say yes. That was beautiful. Now, it's crazy to think that we're here at the end of the conversation already.
You kicking me out?
Yes, we unfortunately have to. What would you like to see kind of? You've said so much has changed even just since Bridgerton came out, and like things have been evolving. Now musicians are taking this as serious work, and that can be a creative outlet. Where would you like to see Ariana Strings go? Where would you like to see the industry go?
I think that the industry isn't taking it as seriously still. I don't see a lot of groups like mine that really take it and really care. I noticed the very few on Instagram. There's like a couple groups in England that I follow, and one out in North Carolina that I follow, and they seem to really care. And I can see that they're like putting their own spin on things and that they care about their couples. But I would love it if more people cared, because one of my mission statements for Ariana Strings was to save classical music. Because, the symphony job isn't enough, and teaching is often not enough, and people need that outlet, and they also need that paycheck. But weddings have charged the same amount of money for like the last 30 years, and that's why people don't pay it as much attention to it. They show up, it's a quick gig, and they leave. And then the people who are at that wedding attending listen to the string quartet that doesn't care, and they go, "Oh, well, I don't really need a string quartet at my wedding.
Wasn't worth it."
Because was it worth it? Did it sound that good? They weren't. If you watch a bunch of people playing who are miserable while they're playing, it shows, and it emanates. And so, that sort of thing actually kills classical music, because if you think about it, you had an opportunity at a 100-person wedding that 100 people could have said, "Man, live music is so
really
great.
Cool.
I would love to go to a symphony concert. I would love to have a party and next time have live music there. I want to go to a bar with live music." But if you take that and you have that like soul-sucking experience of, I don't really care and I'm going to get out of here.
And I think that's such a common misconception too about classical music, is that it's dated, it's boring. Why do we need this anymore?
Yeah, it's very inaccessible.
Yes.
Almost
elitist too in a way.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so interesting that you're saying this, because it's similar to what Melissa and I do. It's almost like you can't show what you can do until you've done it, but you can't do it unless somebody asks you to do it.
Yes.
It's like that, like which comes first,
the chicken or the egg.
I get it all the time. Like, oh, you make women's clothing?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I can only show what I make.
Yes.
People think of suit, wedding, men.
And if you give those people a good experience, they're going to return. And all of the people that are wearing that suit jacket or that suit that you made for them, those people are going to go, "Oh, wow, maybe I should get a suit jacket." And those sorts of things inspire other people. Whereas that's why I feel like growth for Ariana Strings and growth for the wedding music industry, I would love for musicians to see weddings as, just another environment, like just another performance environment, another creative outlet.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm very grateful for weddings, because during the pandemic, symphonies shut down and I thought I was never going to play again. And then I started playing all the micro weddings that could not have a DJ for their dance floor. And I continuously played over those 5 years. Or no, not 5 years. Now it's 5 years. But I didn't lose any time, and I actually gained skills and performance skills that have helped me be stronger.
Different playing for an audience of 5 than an audience of even 25, right?
And if I had turned up my nose to weddings, like a lot of musicians do, then I wouldn't have the capacity that I have now, when people say, "Hey, can you sight read this and add some jazz licks?" Oh yeah, actually, no, I do know how to do that now.
Add some jazz licks. I think, you're wearing a million hats. You're doing a different thing, And I think a perfect testament, one of the reasons we wanted to start this podcast was just to show that it's very difficult what we do as entrepreneurs, like solopreneurs. It's not like we get to show up and just do the job. Like, you kind of have to think about it all day. And a perfect example of what that does is, before we started recording, you two were both running a little bit late, and Melissa's like, "Oh my God, typical Saturday." And you're like, "It's Sunday." Could not have been a better representation of what this life looks like. But we do like to end on a very kind of random question, which is like, name some local restaurants you like, some local businesses that you like.
I want to know the North Carolina group that you were talking about. Shout them out. Just shout out
Dean's Duets.
Peeps.
You go, girl. April Dean from Dean's Duets. She's killing it. And she's expanded her company. So she's doing a whole bunch of different states and stuff. Yeah. And what's nice is that I have DM'd her on Instagram and been like, "Oh, how do you do this?" And she's given me advice. And we're all there to support one another. And it's that community over competition thing without the mean girl undertone. Yeah. It's actually like that.
Without the fakeness.
And Premier Wedding Music over in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And there's a fantastic arranger, Cello Bat. Hi, Cello Bat. She's fantastic. There's so many musicians out there, and if you interact with them on Instagram, like you get a chance to like make a new pen pal, you know?
I love that.
That's
I love that
favorite
so
restaurant
much.
in Connecticut.
Favorite restaurant?
Or New York, or wherever,
Oh, gosh.
or London, or
Yeah.
like
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that opens
Name
up the world to
names.
too many things.
name names.
I'm thinking Pagliacci's in Plainville.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
I went there as a kid. They make their own pasta and they're so good.
I've
And like
never
it's family
been.
run. Yeah,
gotta
it's
go.
yummy and it's like it's sweet. You know, I went there back when they had a smoking section. So
Oh my God. I remember, I have like
Wow.
vague memories of walking into restaurants with my
Mhm. I
parents and being
remember-
like, smoking or non-smoking.
Mine was always Friendlies. I remember walking
Yes,
into
I'm
Friendlies.
Friendlies in Farmington.
And it was left side smoking, right side not. Like,
Yes.
Yep. And I only ever saw the one section. And then when they
Mhm.
closed that off, then
Yeah.
we could, the whole restaurant was
Oh
at our
my God, yes. Friendlies in Farmington
Mhm.
with smoking or non-smoking.
And it's funny when you ask me like name a restaurant like or a small business, my mind automatically goes straight to the wedding world of like I want to
Good.
call out like every photographer that I love
Yeah.
and every planner and
Yeah.
every florist who like has saved
they
my
make our-
bottom, you know?
our lives better.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
but this community, like if you invest in the community and you actually care about the connections you're
Yeah.
making, it only gives back tenfold.
Correct.
You know?
That is
Absolutely.
correct.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, Melissa runs the Stitch Collective, a
Yeah.
group of sewists. And what's your talk on Monday?
We're talking about retail relationships.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you know, just relationships.
Mhm.
You know, it's so
Yep.
crucial. But Ariana, we know you have to run to another gig, so
It's always
thank
another
you.
gig.
Yes,
Always.
thank you
Glad
so
for that.
much
Thank
for
you for
coming
having
here.
me.
This was like went by in a
Yeah, in a
blink.
flash.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you
We
so much,
appreciate
Ariana. Where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me on my website, arianastrings.com or weddingmusic-ct.com, or on Instagram, Ariana_strings, because the one without the underscore is a Ariana Grande fan account with 3 followers and no posts.
Rude. They should take that
Honestly,
name.
I'm so mad.
How
I
rude.
messaged them. I was like, can I have this? It's completely inactive.
Yeah,
Oh,
of
I'm
course
like,
it is. Of
please.
course it is.
I
Oh,
have
good
this.
Lord.
That's rough. Well, thank you.
We
And
love
thank you
it.
very much to the listener for tuning in to another episode of The Fabric of America.